Hi, my name is Claire Calling, and I'm going to be reading to you my conference paper titled Thank You Next, The Digital Face of Today's Feminism. Feminist movements are no longer confined to the ground one can cover during a march, or only to the listening ears that are within range of a megaphone. Feminists have come a long way from the first wave, and new waves of supporters from all walks of life will continue to crash against the shores of inequality. Feminist activism has a new face that is ferocious, fierce, and fully available to the masses at the touch of a button, and without apology. Social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook have created new forms of feminist rhetoric that have captivated audiences across the globe. Messages of equality from these movements no longer involve just long-winded speeches or catchy slogans, but are communicated through images, GIFs, and hashtags. Some movements that dipped into the digital waters have inspired others to jump in, uniting unprecedented numbers of people together to fight against injustices that are faced by women every day in the home, in the workplace, in politics, and beyond. Most of this digital activism has sparked controversy and backlash. Despite the progression towards change, the use of this new medium has also opened up new channels of criticism and anti-feminist movements, and new ways of communicating insults, bigotry, and sexist sentiments. The aforementioned social media outlets have contributed largely to feminist digital activism by providing an accessible space to figuratively stand against injustice, to commiserate, to empower, to inspire, and to sympathize and empathize. Media itself provides an outlet for communication where mere words may be secondary to a person's ability to move, persuade, or inspire. Being accessible and free to all, social media platforms are spaces where adults, teenagers, politicians, and celebrities have an equal voice and equal ability to publish their thoughts for the world to see. As Christine Patash and Elizabeth Testa note in their article, Interrogating Influence, Leveraging the Power of Social Media, when teens use social media, it is striking how ingeniously adolescents use language, perhaps none more striking than their agility at using hashtags to powerfully distill ideas into memorable forms. Although adolescents may be considered the experts when it comes to leveraging social media to their advantage, people of all ages have the capability to utilize these platforms. In fact, in 2018, approximately 8,179 tweets and 867 Instagram photos were uploaded every second, which suggests the power and reach a movement such as #MeToo or #BlackLivesMatter can have not only on America, but on the world. The particular power of hashtags is undeniable. As we've seen across social media, hashtags emerge and become popular, information can quickly spread, people form virtual communities and social relationships. Hashtags allow people to actively participate in movements and social communities that they might not otherwise have access to. Penelope Kemikenadu confirms this level of power with regards to Twitter users in her article, Empathic Cyberactivism, the Potential of Hyperconnected Social Media Networks and Empathic Virtual Reality for Feminism. If people are talking about the same thing, it becomes important to everyone. Each voice counts, and everyone can tweet as many times as they want with a hashtag. In seconds, a hashtag can unite people who probably, in other ways, have nothing else in common. Twitter unites all people through these tags, regardless of other factors. Trending hashtags in open communities can therefore also affect people who are otherwise not primarily interested in or connected to certain topics. Hashtags can be applied to any social media platform, whether it's to announce support for a movement on Facebook or Twitter, or to show others on Instagram that they are not alone in their suffering and in their fight for justice. On Instagram, for example, a user can choose to follow a hashtag, such as #BringBackOurGirls, and can actively participate in that thread by reaching out to others who have posted similar content and by posting to their own account using that hashtag. This has not only become a recognized form of digital rhetoric, but has created solidarity among citizens across the world. These hashtags become the electrified chants at rallies, the movements that former presidents and A-list celebrities endorse, the words of a young girl that gain her an audience with the United Nations regarding climate change. These hashtags become the rhetoric of revolution. Many women have been waiting for opportunities to voice their opinions on matters such as domestic violence and reproductive rights. And up until the internet and social media, some felt they had no avenue in which to express themselves freely. Kemikenadu recognizes the disadvantage that the feminist fight has in what she considers masculine arenas. The internet can often seem like a heterosexual, male-dominated space within which feminism, and other movements, has to constantly fight for recognition. In Rethinking Cyberfeminism's Race, Gender, and Embodiment, an article by Jessie Daniels, she recognizes this argument, but she observes what is intriguing is that despite women's place at the bottom of the global economic hierarchy, their internet participation is rapidly increasing. Hashtags have helped end a silence on these issues that have been lingering for too long and have built awareness surrounding important feminist issues such as the wage gap and sexual harassment, and therefore simultaneously building communities to fight and take action on these issues. The recognized rhetoric of cyberfeminists, links individual to collective experience. They validate their own and others' experiences of this violence, give voice to that experience, and demand that others share responsibility for addressing it. The cyberfeminist rhetoric, both visual and auditory, reaches across gender and racial lines, not only fostering a sense of family, but holding others accountable to speak up for women and to fight against inequality. Daniels notes the possibilities and opportunities that social media provides, in that women's presence in and use of the internet has the potential to transform a whole range of local conditions and institutional domains where women are key factors. From the Me Too movement's home website, it states, "The Me Too movement was founded in 2006 to help survivors of sexual violence, particularly Black women and girls, find pathways to healing. Our vision from the beginning was to address both the dearth of resources for survivors of sexual violence and to build a community of advocates driven by survivors who will be at the forefront of creating solutions to interrupt sexual violence in their communities. Because of the viral MeToo hashtag, a vital conversation about sexual violence has been thrust into the national dialogue. This work has expanded to reach a global community of survivors and helped to destigmatize the act of surviving by highlighting the breadth and impact of a sexual violence worldwide." Because this rhetoric surrounding sexual abuse and violence became known through social media, women all over the world have been able to come together to fight against the stigma attached to survivors and pool resources for those who may not have had access to such help before. At over 2.3 million posts on Instagram, the MeToo hashtag features memes of tweets illustrating men objectifying women, pictures of bruised knees, and even a video of Taylor Swift at one of her concerts opening up about her sexual assault. The only issue about the use of hashtags that is exposed here is the fact that these phrases can be used and published by anyone, both supporters and critics. Memes have also been known to express sarcastic forms of advocacy and may not be taken seriously by those choosing to publish to their social media with that hashtag. This can, in turn, mock and chastise any given movement. Both Kemekennedy and Daniels have noted that social media platforms can act as a misogynistic space where anti-feminist supporters can create posts and hashtags to instill hate, fear, anger, and outrage in viewers. It can be argued that because social media like Facebook and Twitter are spaces of self-expression without the prohibition or limitation of physical space, that users are more prone to be ruthless in their rhetoric towards such movements. Many have posted grotesque memes and disturbing videos in spite of such movements and will attach the hashtag meant to eliminate exactly what is being posted, therefore, in a sense, crippling the movement's power. But Carrie Rentschler, in her article, #SafetyTipsForLadies, Feminist Twitter Takedowns of Victim Blaming, counters this notion by illuminating that women turn to Twitter to express their exasperation with rape prevention advice is quite revealing. For they simultaneously hijacked typical prevention discourse and repopulated Twitter channels with a different kind of peer-to-peer advice giving. Tweets using the hashtag were quickly generated and recirculated, demonstrating how humor fuels the dissemination of feminist ideas via social media. Despite at times the use of morbid humor, it is the mocking of hateful posts that actually spreads the movement further and solidifies advocacy and community. In this sense, the spread through Instagram or Facebook may not entail just rudimentary support of the movement, but the exposure of what can be viewed as ridiculousness of the opposition, building on the emotionally charged rhetoric used by feminist adversaries and shaping it to their advantage. It is important to note that not all emotionally charged rhetoric comes from the opposition, but rather from other feminists seeking to correct others in their perceived versions of feminism. Ursula Pruchniewska's Working Across Difference in the Digital Era, Riding the Waves to Feminist Solidarity, advocates that social media is particularly useful for feminist practices because, through the affordances of distance minimization and interactivity, digital spaces allow women to work together across their differences, a thorny issue long affecting feminist politics. She illuminates the fact that women need to recognize their differences, but emphasizes that this should not be a deterrent to joining a movement such as #MeToo or #BlackLivesMatter. Daniels highlights this form of inclusion in her article as well, recognizing that the very people who are excluded from mainstream society want to include themselves in these new technologies on their own terms so that they can see themselves as protagonists of the revolution. Despite level of involvement or personal experience, social media has the power to unite a myriad of people towards a common goal. In the cases presented earlier, towards justice, fighting injustice, and seeking equality. Again, a tweet or Facebook post may not be published by a survivor of violence or sexual assault, but this sharing brings about the recognition that our own knowledge is partial, allowing us to be accountable for our limited viewpoints while being sympathetic to the differently experienced oppression of others. Sharing on social media gives users a sense of validation in both acting as a publisher and as a viewer of such content. These popular platforms possess the ability to transcend the physical and can outlast time. Pictures of women's marches, then and now, can sit side by side in a Facebook post. Advocates for women's rights can speak side by side on social media with political figures such as Michelle Obama and even celebrity activists such as Angelina Jolie. Both women utilize the power of social media with regards to the #BringBackOurGirls movement, a diverse group of citizens advocating for speedy and effective search and rescue of all of the abducted girls and for a rapid containment and quelling of insurgency in Nigeria. In Candy Carter Olson's #BringBackOurGirls, digital communities supporting real-world change and influencing mainstream media agendas, she discusses the true power that social media has on taking political action. She comments that posts initially created on and for social media have the ability to spread beyond those avenues into news articles and even into government reform. Olson illustrates the #BringBackOurGirls campaign is an example of the ways that activists are using social media to mobilize communities, influence the public conversation, and spur political action. In addition to rallying political will to help the kidnapped schoolgirls, the campaign gave online organizers an opportunity to broadcast issues that historically have been important to the international women's movement, including the exploitation of women and girls around the world, education for girls, and equal opportunities for women and girls in developing countries. Through movements such as this, with the right amount of social media exposure and the manipulation of eye-catching rhetoric, the voices of women will not only be heard, but acted upon. Social media such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter are proven catalysts of change in our political, social, and economic realms that are known to be overwhelmed with male presence. With the women's voice and presence growing stronger on social media every day, positive change of the world's views held towards women's rights is imminent. Certain stigmatized matters such as sexual assault and reproductive rights are finally getting the attention they deserve because of social media's outreach and women's digital initiative. Cyberfeminism, as Pruchniewska stated in her article, is looking more like a fourth wave of feminism, a wave that's already begun to rock some social and political boats. To the old ways of advocating for our rights, we say thank you next as we charge our way towards equality with a heavy digital hand. Thank you.